Make sure you're not around when we leave for Italy, my brother said over dinner. Would be awkward if you tried to tag along. My mom nodded. It's just not your place anymore. I just raised the glass and said, understood. Later that night, I quietly canceled all their tickets and waited. At check-in, they were denied boarding. My sister texted, "Fix this now." I smiled and replied, I didn't think they'd become my enemies that night. Honestly, if you told me 24 hours before that dinner that things would fall apart this fast, I would have laughed. I had been planning the trip for weeks, counting the days until I could finally see their reactions. I thought it was going to be one of those rare moments when everything just worked. No arguments, no judgment, just appreciation. It was a Friday night, warm out, the kind of weather that made you think good things were on their way. I pulled up to my parents' house with a bottle of wine and a stupid grin. It had been a while since I'd done something like that. Just showed up to sit with them like old times. I walked in like a fool, thinking I'd hear, "We're proud of you," or at least a thank you. 3 weeks before, I'd gotten the kind of promotion that changes your whole financial bracket. I didn't tell them right away. I wanted it to be special. I wanted to wrap it in something memorable. So, I booked a family trip to Italy, Florence, Rome, Venice, first class, 5-star hotels. I paid in full, every last cent. I told myself it was worth it, even if it put a dent in my savings. They were family. That's what you do. When I finally told them, I expected surprise, tears, maybe gratitude at the very least. But what I got instead was something I still can't fully explain. My mom gave this half smile and said, "That's generous of you." My sister asked if she could bring her friend Mia. My dad raised his eyebrows like he couldn't believe I had that kind of money. And my brother, he just poured himself another glass of wine and said something I'll never forget. "Just make sure you're not around when we leave for Italy. Would be awkward if she tried to tag along." I thought he was joking. I looked at him, waited for the punchline, but he wasn't smiling. My mom didn't even flinch. "It's just this trip. It's going to be about us. You've got your life now, and that's great, but it's not really your place anymore." I stared at them. My sister was already scrolling through her phone, showing our mom pictures of a bikini she wanted to wear by the coast. She didn't even glance in my direction. No one asked what I meant when I said, "Understood." I said it calmly. I even raised my glass like I was toasting to their plan. They clinked their glasses with mine. My dad laughed and started talking about gelato flavors. They had no idea. That night, I went back to my apartment. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The flight confirmation emails were still sitting in my inbox. One by one, I pulled them up, logged into the airline's website, and canceled everything. Every ticket, every hotel reservation. The car service I booked to pick them up, gone. It took 15 minutes. The next morning, no one called me. No one checked in. They just kept talking in the group chat about what to pack and how to get through customs faster. No apology, no second thoughts. They really thought they'd use me like an ATM and leave me out of it. 2 days later, they showed up at the airport in their travel outfits, dragging brand new luggage I'm sure they bought just for this trip. My sister posted a selfie in front of the terminal with the caption, "Cow, baby." They made it all the way to the check-in counter and then one by one were denied boarding. That's when the text started rolling in. The first text came from my sister. "Fix this now." It lit up my screen while I was pouring my second coffee. I didn't answer. I just watched it. Then came 3 more. "Why are our tickets cancelled?" They said you did it, Lisa. Are you serious? Still, nothing from me. I wanted them to sit with it for a while. By then, I was already watching their meltdown unfold through the airline app. All 4 tickets, voided, non-refundable, just sitting there with a red X beside them. They had tried to check in, denied, tried again at the counter, nothing. Then the group chat lit up. Dad, what's happening? Sister, they won't let us board. Brother, Lisa, if this is some kind of joke, undo it now. Mom, call us immediately. This isn't funny. I waited, let them spiral. Let them taste that confusion. Then I texted just once. It's just not your place anymore. Nothing for about a full minute. Silence, and then it exploded. My sister was the loudest. She sent 13 messages in under 5 minutes. She blamed me for ruining her year. Said she had bought new outfits and had scheduled hair appointments just for this. She told me I was cruel, selfish, manipulative. Then she switched tactics and started guilt tripping, asking how I could do this to my own family. My brother started sending threats, the kind of half-baked crap he throws around when he's cornered. He said I owed them for starting this whole thing in the first place, that I had baited them with a trip just to pull it out from under them. My mom accused me of planning this from the beginning, of weaponizing generosity. And then, around noon, I got a call from my dad. I let it ring twice. Third time, I picked up. You embarrassed us. I didn't even respond. You made us look like fools in public at an international check-in counter. You think that's funny? He waited. I said nothing. Then I hung up. After that, they went quiet for a bit. I think the full weight of what I'd done started to hit. That this wasn't just a prank or a tantrum, it was permanent. That afternoon, I logged into my bank. My sister had a standing transfer, $11,300 a month. She used it for her nanny, groceries, random stuff. I canceled it. Then I shut down the card she had on my account. She'd used it to order $200 worth of bath products last week. Then I called the dealership. The white SUV, sitting in my parents' driveway, had my name on the title. I didn't even hesitate. I gave them the address, told them to bring it back. It was gone by 3 p.m. By 5, I called my brother's landlord. Lease in my name, $1,000 a month. He hadn't paid a cent in over half a year. I gave them notice I'd be stepping out of the lease. They'd have 30 days to deal with him. That night, the group chat tried again. Mom, let's be rational. Sister, please. I have no way to pay the nanny. Now, brother, I'll figure it out. But what you did was messed up. No apologies, no real remorse, just panic. They thought I was still the version of me who needed them, the one who bought silence, or connection, or belonging. They hadn't noticed that version of me disappeared a long time ago. What they didn't know, what they still refused to believe, was that I meant it. This wasn't revenge. This was just closure. And they weren't ready for it. By the next morning, it had moved from anger to desperation. The group chat had gone quiet overnight, which I expected. They were regrouping. I imagined them all back at my parents' house, probably sitting in the living room with their phones out, arguing about how to handle me. I figured my mom was trying to smooth things over, my sister pacing in circles, my dad probably swearing under his breath while my brother blamed everyone but himself. At 8:12 a.m., I heard banging at my front door. I didn't even have to look through the peephole. I already knew my sister. She was yelling my name like it was urgent, like she was about to collapse or something. I stood in the kitchen sipping coffee and just listened. This isn't fair, Lisa. You don't just cut people off. That's not how this works. She pounded the door again. I swear, if you don't open this, then silence. Eventually, I heard her storm off down the hall. I watched her from the window as she got into her car and sat there for a while, just typing furiously on her phone. A minute later, another string of messages blew up my screen. Congrats. The nanny quit this morning. She said she can't rely on a paycheck that might vanish. So now, I'm stuck with everything. Followed by, you did this for what? Because of one dinner conversation. And then you need help. I didn't respond. Instead, I logged into my bank again and double-checked transfers to her. Cancelled. Card disabled. She wasn't bluffing. I had no doubt the nanny walked. She probably thought this was just another one of my sister's dramas and didn't want to get caught in it. Smart woman. A few hours later, my phone rang again. It was my dad. I let it go too. Voicemail, like I had with all of them. His message was longer this time. It started like this. Lisa, your mother's upset. I'm trying to hold this together, but you're putting us in a position we never imagined being in. Then he went into how they had been planning that trip as a new beginning, how it was supposed to heal the distance between us. He said, I overreacted. He actually used that word, overreacted. Then came the part that made me laugh. You might want to think twice before burning bridges. You never know when you'll need family again. I saved the message just in case I ever forgot why I stopped answering their calls in the first place. Later that afternoon, my mom tried again. First a text. Can we meet? Just talk. I feel like we're all saying things we don't mean. Then a voicemail, 3 minutes long. She said I was being cold. That I was holding a grudge. That family isn't something you can opt out of just because your feelings got hurt. That if I needed space, fine. But cutting them off financially was spiteful. She said I'd regret it. I listened to the whole thing without a single reaction. They still thought this was temporary, a tantrum. They thought eventually I'd come crawling back, wallet in hand, apologizing for overstepping. But what they didn't understand, what none of them wanted to understand, was that this wasn't a tantrum. This was clarity. That trip was supposed to be a turning point. And it was, just not in the way they expected. They made it clear I wasn't part of their circle anymore. I was just the woman who paid for it. So, I took myself out of the equation completely. And what came next, that was entirely up to them. 3 days of silence. That was the first sign something was off. Not a single message, no phone calls. Not even a fake apology. After the meltdown at the airport and the financial fallout, I expected them to come at me again, screaming, bargaining, blaming, but instead, nothing. Like they had all vanished. It didn't feel like acceptance. It felt like they were regrouping. I was right. Thursday morning, just after 10 a.m., I got a call from HR at my company.com, voice, professional. Asked if I had a moment to discuss a complaint that had been submitted. That word complaint made my chest tighten for a second. I stepped into a meeting room and asked what this was about. They said they'd received an anonymous tip through the company ethics portal. Someone had submitted a detailed email claiming I'd misused company funds to pay for a personal family vacation, lead on my expense reports, and was using company travel reimbursements to cover personal favors. There were attachments, fake invoices, screenshots, even a fabricated company memo referencing the Italy trip as part of an executive retreat. I knew instantly who was behind it. They had taken their humiliation and flipped it into sabotage. Luckily, I never charged a single Italy expense to the company. Everything came out of my own account. HR said the documents looked suspicious, names spelled wrong, formatting off. They told me they'd open a formal review, but they already had someone cross-checking everything I'd filed. By 3:00 p.m., they cleared me, but that didn't matter. The intent was clear. They weren't just mad. They were trying to destroy something I'd built on my own. Quietly, systematically, I didn't react. I just sent a text to my sister. Solid attempt. Try spelling the VP's name right next time. She replied 10 minutes later. No clue what you're talking about. Followed by, you always think everyone's out to get you. That's not healthy. And finally, let me know when you're ready to act like a grown-up. That last one made me laugh. I was still shaking my head when my doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman I didn't recognize. Late 30s, worn-out expression. Holding a little boy in one arm and a canvas bag in the other. She asked if I was Lisa. I nodded. I'm Clara. I used to work for your sister, Nanny, she said. I'm sorry to show up like this, but I thought you should see this before she buries it. She handed me a flash drive. Told me she was quitting, that things had gotten too toxic in that house. She said she didn't want to get involved, but that she had saved the files just in case. I offered her money, she refused. She lied to you a lot, Clara said before leaving. I closed the door, plugged the drive into my laptop, and opened the folder. It was worse than I imagined. There were recordings, audio files of my sister talking to friends and my mom. Bragging, mocking, calling me a glorified ATM, saying things like, she'll always pay if you throw in a guilt trip. One clip was her explaining to someone how she manipulated me into thinking the Italy trip was a family celebration, when really, it was just our reward for dealing with this holier-than-thou attitude. My mom's voice popped up more than once, agreeing, telling her not to worry because I never had a spine. And there was more. Screenshots of group texts I wasn't in, photos of my apartment she must have taken secretly when she visited, captioned with things like, "Guess who's paying rent for us all?" Even a draft of an email they almost sent to my boss a week earlier, accusing me of workplace harassment. My name typed over and over again in places it didn't belong. I stared at the screen for a long time, then copied everything to an encrypted drive. I didn't say anything for a while. I didn't send the files. I didn't threaten them. I just sat with it until around midnight. That's when I texted her one last time. I know everything. Good luck. She didn't reply, but my mom did. At 1:43 a.m., 2 words. Please stop. The tone had changed now. They tried using me, then guilt, then threats, then sabotage. Now they were scared. And I hadn't even started. After that night, I heard nothing from my sister for a full week. Not a single message, no calls, no sarcastic texts, or fake concern. It was like she'd evaporated. But I knew that kind of silence from her wasn't peace. It was survival mode. She was hiding, buying time. The only one who kept reaching out was my mom. Every few days, I'd get a short, vague message from her. We need to talk, or whatever this is, it's gone too far. Then one day, she stopped trying altogether. That's when I realized she must have seen the contents of the flash drive. Whether Clara gave her a copy, or she got it through my sister, I don't know. But once she knew what I had, the game changed. My dad, radio silence. Not even a passive-aggressive, forwarded article. He'd taken his embarrassment and sealed it off like he always did. If he didn't acknowledge it, maybe it didn't happen. My brother was the last to show his hand. It came in the form of an eviction notice. Apparently, after I pulled out of the lease agreement, the property manager gave him 30 days to either take over the lease or leave. He couldn't afford it, so, instead of calling me or admitting defeat, he tried to sue me for emotional distress. He sent me a copy of the paperwork, handwritten in blue pen, barely legible, said I had caused him to lose housing stability, and that I owed him 6 months of future rent to compensate for trauma. It was so ridiculous, I actually kept it in a drawer, just in case I ever forgot the level of entitlement I was dealing with. I didn't respond. I let him file it. It was thrown out almost immediately. A few days later, he showed up at my building. I didn't open the door. I watched from my window as he stood on the sidewalk yelling into his phone. I saw him motioning like he was ready to throw something. Then he just stopped, looked up at my window. For a second, he stared like he didn't recognize the person on the other side of the glass anymore. Then he turned and walked off. That same night, my sister cracked. She sent me a paragraph. Long, sloppy, emotional. Said she was sorry. Said she made a mistake. That she missed me. That I'd always been the strong one. And she didn't mean what she said at dinner. She asked if we could meet, just to talk. I didn't reply. Instead, I scheduled a meeting with my lawyer. I'd been thinking about it for a while. The car still under my name. The property where my parents lived. I didn't own it, but I had been covering the taxes quietly for 2 years. That ended. Official letters were sent. Documents filed. I revoked power of attorney privileges my dad didn't even know he still had on one of my older accounts. I checked every joint detail I'd ever shared with any of them. Bit by bit, I erased them from everything, every system, every connection. And as I watched them scramble to recover what they lost, I realized something unexpected. They weren't just angry. They were terrified of a version of me they had never known. One who didn't need them. One who had stopped hoping they'd change. And by now, they finally understood. There was no coming back. It's been just over 3 months since everything ended. At first I kept checking my phone, half expecting another explosion. Another angry voicemail. Another guilt-laced message. But there was nothing. Slowly, the noise stopped. Total silence. It didn't happen all at once. My sister tried to hang on the longest. Her messages started thinning out. Fewer insults, more forced positivity. She sent a photo of her kid painting at daycare, no caption. A week later, she followed up with a longer message about how she'd reflected and grown from the experience. She said she hoped we could talk again someday. I read it. Then I archived it. The same woman who laughed at me behind my back, who tried to ruin my job, who used me for months. Now she wanted a reset like nothing had happened. But there's no reset after what she did. There's no version of me that forgets any of it. My brother gave up quicker. I found out through a mutual acquaintance that he was crashing on a friend's couch and trying to sell sneakers online to make rent. He never messaged again after the court paperwork was tossed. I think he got the message once and for all. The free ride was over. My parents were the last to go quiet. My mom made one final attempt. She sent a long letter through the mail, handwritten. It started off kind, almost too kind. Then it got strange. She said she understood why I was angry, but also claimed she never meant to exclude me. She said it was just a misunderstanding, and that families argue all the time. Then she wrote something I'll never forget. You were never supposed to take it so personally. That sentence sat with me for days. My father didn't send anything. no letter, no message, just disappeared from everything. Even blocked me on his phone, like I'd done something unforgivable, like I had betrayed them. And maybe in their world I did. I stopped being the one who funded their lives, who stayed quiet, who let it slide. I've heard through a few people that they tell their version of the story to anyone who will listen. That I turned on them after a petty disagreement. That I'm selfish, arrogant, unstable. That I let money change me. What they don't say, what they never will say, is what really happened. They don't talk about how they laughed while excluding me from a trip I paid for. They don't mention the lies, the sabotage, or the footage. They don't talk about how they looked me in the eyes and made it clear I was nothing more than a credit card to them. No, that part they leave out, and that's fine. They can build whatever story they need to feel like the victims. But here's the truth. They thought I would never leave because I never had before. They thought they could humiliate me, lie to me, and still keep my money and support. They thought I'd always be the one who forgave, who paid, who tried to fix what they broke. They were wrong. We don't speak anymore. There are no calls, no birthdays, no awkward holidays, no fake apologies, just clean, empty space. They hate me now. Not for what I did, but because I finally made them live without me. The update. It's been 3 more weeks since that last wave of silence. No contact, no letters, no surprise drop-ins. The line is clean now, like someone finally cut the wire that had been fraying for years. And for the first time in my life, my days are quiet, peaceful in a way I didn't know I needed. No one's asking for money. No one's guilting me into flying out for a holiday or helping pay off unexpected expenses. My phone doesn't vibrate at midnight with my sister's emergencies, or my dad's vague one-word text demanding I call back. They're gone. Not just physically, but mentally. They've shifted into a place I no longer occupy. And my life, it's better. I get up earlier now, not because I have to, but because I want to. I've started cooking again. Real meals, not takeout. I go for walks after work. I actually sleep through the night. My apartment feels bigger, cleaner. I even took down some of the old family pictures that I used to keep around out of guilt. Replaced them with places I've been. People who didn't ask anything from me, other than to show up and be myself. A few people in my life know the full story. I don't tell it often, but when I do, their reactions are always the same. Some version of, "I can't believe you went through that." But the truth is, I didn't go through it. I lived it for years. I accepted it. I normalized it. It's only now with distance that I can really see it for what it was. Slow erosion, death. By 1,000 withdrawals, love that came with invoices, support that came with strings, family that only existed when I paid for the glue to hold it together, and I'm not bitter, not even angry anymore. That part's burned off. What's left is something sharper, clarity. They never saw me as a person, just a resource, and when I stopped being useful, they tried to punish me for it. But the beautiful thing about being done is that there's nothing left to lose. No more trying to fix what was never real. No more hoping they'll wake up and see me for who I actually am. I've deleted their numbers, blocked their emails, cut off the remaining accounts they quietly depended on. It's not revenge, it's just reality. I've stopped trying to be the daughter, the sister, the provider they imagined. Now I'm just Lisa, and that's more than enough. Some weekends I'll catch myself reaching for the phone out of habit, thinking maybe I should check in. Then I remember there's nothing left to check in on. Their absence doesn't ache anymore. It just feels quiet, like background noise that finally stopped.